Hello there, and welcome to Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, the Writers' Room podcast dedicated to fixing the Star Wars sequels. This month, we continue our analysis into Star Wars villains, this time with Darth Maul. I'm Bryce Quinn, and journeying with me into the depths of Malachor is headstrong but impressionable Jedi Padawan, Carmelo Keating.
Nice. I was trying to think, I was like, you were doing that intro, I'm like, is he going to throw it to me?
Where the fuck is this going?
Throw it to Emily, but yeah, okay.
Awaiting him there in the depths of an ancient temple, we are also joined by the evil Sith Lord, Emily Holden.
Yeah, that's valid. That's valid.
That whole thing was a setup just to call you evil, by the way.
I take it.
I mean, your track record on the podcast.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you were doing the intro, I was like, this isn't going to me.
So, Darth Maul has come up quite a few times on this show, and this week we've got some new ideas we're going to throw on the drawing board. But before that, let's take a look at his history, because he's got a lot of history.
He does.
And Emily, we've got you on the show this week because of your extensive love and passion for the Clone Wars. So,
Yes.
we'll be diving into all of that and who Maul is and what makes him tick.
This will be great. I'm just ready for a bit of fact-checking back and forth
Okay.
between myself and Emily on Maul's
On-
background.
Yeah.
Would you like to go first?
Savage. Or... we going straight at...
Let's start at the start.
Okay, start at the start.
Phantom Menace.
He was born... No! What do you mean? Bruh. Okay, yeah, Phantom Menace.
He was born in Lucas's mind as nothing but a cool guy holding a red lightsaber, and from there, Filoni took it up and away, and made one of the coolest characters in Star Wars. I think, as much as we're not the biggest fans of some of Filoni's more recent stuff with the live action stuff, we can confidently say Darth Maul is his work, and he did a great job.
It's entirely his character.
Yeah.
Like, Lucas just made this, like, one-note guy with 2 lines of dialogue.
Yeah.
Is cool, but...
He's very cool.
Nelly
Very
hits
cool.
a child.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he wasn't a character until then. Background on Maul? In terms
Yeah,
of
background
the
on Maul.
character
Hit us with
himself?
the background.
Okay, so he was a son of Dathomir, son of Mother Talzin, who was a night sister of Dathomir. His brother was Savage Opress, who you get to see in the Clone Wars. He's like Darth Maul, right? But yellow and black. And
Yeah.
bigger.
Bigger.
So, okay, just a quick question. What's their, like, physiology for the...
For them?
Yeah.
So they've
Got the horns, that's
yes,
natural.
So they're the...
but the markings are not.
No, so they're of the Zabrak
Yeah,
species.
Zabrak, that's it.
Yeah. The markings are tattoos
Yeah,
that
okay.
the Night Sisters do to them.
Damn good tattoos.
Yeah.
Seemingly do not fade.
No, they do change, however. If you look at every different iteration of Maul
That's
in
really funny.
live action Clone Wars and Rebels.
Even Ahsoka.
yeah.
All the markings.
yeah,
change.
different anyway.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, no, 100%. I love Savage Opress. Like, you think Maul is an angry guy,
Mm.
and then you meet his brother, and you're like, kind of chill compared to him.
Yeah.
Like, I think getting that background, especially on Dathomir, I love the episode where we get to see the trials of the brothers and who they decide to pick as
Yeah.
Darth Maul's brother, and it kind of shows the brutality of where Darth Maul comes from,
Absolutely.
and it just explains everything.
Yeah, so he's very much like from this very, very brutal planet, very harsh world, and a harsh culture. And it seems very violent and militaristic.
It is. It's like it's evil. It's sinister. Like it's ruled by witchcraft and
Yeah.
witches. You know?
And they sit like right on the edge of the dark side, right?
Yeah.
Like the Night Sister magic is, I think.
Oh, it's dark
explicitly-
side magic,
Yeah,
yeah.
explicitly dark side magic.
I've got a note here. That so Sidious stole Maul as a child.
Yeah.
Right, that's it.
Yeah.
Kidnapped him, which was a betrayal of to Mother Talzin because they actually had a strong alliance and they were
Yeah.
sharing their knowledge of the dark side.
And then he saw in Maul like, oh, this is gonna be a good apprentice.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
worth stealing in order to like sabotage like this friendship I've got with Mother Talzin. Like
Yeah.
that's a worthy.
Which is insane.
Insane
when you
considering how
see-
quickly he died.
Yeah, and especially Mother Talzin, like in the Clone Wars, is an insane villain. Like
Yeah.
the power she has is insane, and even when she brings not Savage Opress back and like the power she installs in Savage Opress, you're like, because she kind of gives not the Force to Savage Opress.
She
but
gives him steroids.
yeah.
He's actually super skinny, and then she juices him up, and then
Yeah.
he gets bulk.
Huh.
So
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So my question is, are then all the people born on Dathomir like already kind of linked to the Force and the dark side just because they're from there? Or like, what is Mother Talzin's ability?
I don't know. You see the rest of the Night Brothers. I think it's to imbue greater strength, but not force ability. Savage already had the capacity, but the other Night Brothers are kind of just like wimps. And like you
Yeah.
do see a bit where, yeah, because Savage has to like
Kill
fight.
his own.
Kill-
Doesn't he? Yeah, he
Kills his other
sacrifices-
brother, I think.
Yeah.
Good lord.
Yeah. it-
Brutal show.
There's the third brother who's
This is-
dead.
Ah.
Think of it like the Luke Hemsworth of this universe.
They
yeah.
killed the runt of the litter.
Yeah.
And then Savage Opress gets trained by Count Dooku, which is
Yeah. Oh, it's a
It's-
whole thing.
yeah, it's a whole thing.
And he's part of like the Ventress plot to overthrow Count
Yeah.
Dooku because she was thrown to the wayside, betrayed. The Clone Wars is just full of all of this,
Much politics and
Rule
betrayal.
of two. There's rule of two. Why are
Where's
there
two?
5 Sith going on at the moment? What's going on here?
But so, Darth Maul gets killed, or not killed, but severely wounded at the hands of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Falls in 2 pieces down a really long pipe, and mysteriously ends up on a different planet in a scrap.
In a spider.
So that's
And he's like got spider legs.
yeah. So that's like a dump hole apparently.
But we don't know how he got there.
Oh, because he fell down the shaft and then he ends up in like a waste heap that
Okay.
gets taken to a waste planet. 'Cause
Oh,
this is the galaxy. Galaxy disgusting.
so it's like a
They all put it
galactic
on one.
trash
Yeah.
garbage
Yeah.
truck.
Which
That's the
makes
word I'm
sense.
looking for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And his rage is able to, and the fact that he, lightsabers cauterize wounds, kept him alive. And then he built spider legs,
But he's
and he
like-
became a spider.
And he was nuts. He lost
Yeah,
his mind.
that was the issue. Yeah,
Right.
it went. I mean, not the issue, but yeah, he loses his mind. But it's so unsettling. Like it's very much giving. No, the guy with the arms, the lightsaber dude, steals lightsabers.
Oh,
Grievous?
I would love to see a fight between Darth Maul with the spider legs and Grievous.
Yeah, right.
The
true.
uncanny.
The spiders.
And so, Savage Opress is given the mission, go and find your brother. He's still alive.
Yep.
By Mother Talzin. I've seen these episodes,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I thought they were okay.
You just saw these. What?
Someone
He
was
hasn't
like,
seen the whole Clone
Bryce, you're wrong about the Clone Wars. We're going to show you the good stuff. And they made me watch
Who
a lot
showed
of...
you that?
My friend Connor. He made me
That's
sat...
not the ones you show.
He sat down. He sat me
They're
down. He's like,
so
you got to
good.
watch the Maul episodes. They're really good. And I was like, they're okay.
That once you
Yeah.
get past the origins, then they're good. Once he gets his mind back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, he has to get his mind back. And then he works with his brother, and they become like this kind of unstoppable galactic duo.
They become his new
Yeah.
master and apprentice.
So
Yeah.
he takes on Savage, his brother, as his apprentice. Okay.
And has to keep
putting
putting him in his place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because he's like, dude, you can't do that.
Yeah. Like,
Because Savage is just like, again, on steroids.
yeah. And he's
Just killing everything.
one ambition is kill,
Ah,
Yeah.
whereas Maul's like, he's interested in power and tyranny and
He is
control and stuff.
in being, a Sith Lord.
Yeah.
So he sees himself now as the true Master Apprentice Sith Lord. Sidious betrayed him. Dooku's an imposter.
knows about
Who the fuck is Ventress? Don't know who that is,
So we have a
Love
whole lot of
interest.
politics, a whole lot of stuff going on, but I think the important part is how all of that ends in Clone Wars for him at
Yeah.
the Siege of Mandalore, because that's
Oh,
the
it's
real.
So
He has this interesting
good.
relationship with Mandalore where he's trying to conquer it and take it over.
Yeah.
And then in the Siege of
Solo.
Mandalore, before we get to the solo
Yeah.
stuff,
Mm.
the Siege of Mandalore, it all comes to a head. He fights Ahsoka and loses, right?
Yeah, so as in
Yeah.
Clone Wars, he becomes the leader of the Shadow Collective
Yeah.
that he assembled with Savage Opress and Pre Vizsla and his Death Watch Mandalorian troopers. They just basically go around either killing or convincing a bunch of the crime underworld leaders to join forces.
Yeah.
And then collectively, they take over Mandalore. And then for a little while, Maul stays as the head of Mandalore. Even though, Sidious does come in to clean up the mess that he made, kills Savage Opress, he takes him prisoner. Maul's able to, he does some dirty deeds for Sidious again. Sidious actually uses him for stuff. Then he breaks out.
He kills Obi-Wan's
He
girlfriend.
kills,
Which is kind of like
I
a
categorize this
betrayal.
as the nonsense.
What?
all of this nonsense.
Because it's just so much fluff. The important thing is he's got a Shadow Collective and he's trying to take over Mandalore. All the other rest of
You need
it's
to
just...
watch those
You
episodes.
need to
man.
watch-
You need to watch your mouth.
No, he does. I think that's like, what's her name?
Satine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a brutal death.
Oh yeah,
Like that's like a
in front of Obi-Wan.
No, it's like a Star Wars like kind of Vader moment where it's brutal. That's all I've got to say.
But yes, eventually, because Ahsoka comes in, the end of Clone Wars, the Jedi Purge happens. Maul has to take the Shadow Collective underground, and at some point that just becomes Crimson Dawn.
Right.
He does do the real Sith thing, of hiding in the shadows. But basically, he's able to evade Sidious then for the next 10 years. He just
And that's after the Siege of Mandalore.
Yeah.
Okay.
yes.
But he also, I think there's a really weird moment where he teams up with Ahsoka for a moment to escape out of.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
in the
during,
Siege of
Yeah.
during
Mandalore.
the siege. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of, where she frees him and is like, he's like, give me a
Allies
lightsaber.
of circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, give me a lightsaber. And she's like, fuck you.
No way.
You cause a distraction. I do not care if you die.
But
Yeah,
he
it's
also,
great.
I
Great.
think the moment which is so frustrating when he actually is like, goes to Ahsoka and he's like, hope Anakin's okay.
Yeah. He knew, hey.
He-
That's,
no,
that's
he
just-
won-
it's
and that's-
crazy.
But that's the thing, like, how do you, like, why was he building that Shadow Clan? Was he building it because he was like, nah, Vader's, that's not going to go well.
He knew too late in the game, like around the
Yeah.
time of Siege, and you see that over the course of those episodes that
He's like figured out Palpatine's game.
yeah, he knows something's happening, and
Yeah.
the way they allude to it as well, because he doesn't say anything. He's not going to say anything, reveal the plan. It's It's gorgeous. A bit more on Maul the Man.
Okay.
Maul the Man, the myth, the legend. Biggie Mauls, if you will.
I will not, actually.
Oh well.
Maul is an incredibly sad tale of a man whose life was completely wasted for the sole ambition of revenge. He was ruled and fueled by hatred for Kenobi, which was misdirected aggression due to his own failures and his own hubris. His destruction, essentially, in Phantom Menace was his own fault. So, eventually he grew to hate the Sith by the time of Star Wars Rebels, and just was kind of singularly motivated by selfishness in the time of Rebels. You know, his entire character story there is to just find Kenobi and kill him.
Yeah. This is the part that I don't like.
Yeah.
I think everything up to Siege of Mandalore is fantastic, and Siege of Mandalore included. Like, his story is fascinating. I love the arc. I don't necessarily enjoy watching it. I just don't like the Clone Wars show.
Yeah.
But if you write down the story on paper, I think it's really, really great. After the Siege of Mandalore, we have a huge dark period where it's not... We don't know for sure what he is doing, and the stuff that we do know, like from comics and books and all that kind of stuff, is not really the most interesting. And I think there's a lot of potential there for rewrites, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, right.
Especially because when we catch up to him in Rebels,
Yeah.
that's the first time we see him not Solo, right? Which one do we see first, Solo or Rebels?
Let's see Rebels.
Rebels.
Yep.
We see him in Rebels, and he's just there on Malachor.
Yeah.
And he crash landed there, and he's been looking for Sith artifacts.
Yep, Sith holocrons.
Which
and
is a
Jedi holocrons
complete
shit.
and utter womp. Like, who cares? That is the dumbest thing. He should be moving with purpose. He should not be accidentally anywhere. I don't think. I think he's a character where he's at the point now with his power level
smart.
and his story arc. He should not be anywhere without a purpose.
Yes. It also doesn't make sense because he does still have Crimson Dawn.
He should. He should still
Why
have
is he
yeah.
alone?
What happened to Crimson?
Yeah,
Dawn?
what happened to
It's-
them? What is the story
That would have
It's
been
still
an
there.
interesting-
We know this.
Yeah.
We know that much. The comics have caught us up on the fact that he does train Kira in some combat and shit, and then she does take over Crimson Dawn when he dies, and then Crimson Dawn goes on to ally with the rebels to help kind of almost rescue the Han Solo and Carbonite, but then it ends up in Jabba's hands anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, Kira's a helpful ally to the rebels down the line, but
So
where's Maul?
we see him in Rebels, in that whole Malachor arc, and then Darth Vader shows up, and
Yep.
Maul escapes.
Yep.
And then in season 3, Maul catches up with them again to try and convince Ezra to join the dark side, right? And then kill Kanan. I'm not quite sure on season 3.
They got a Jedi holocron, they got a Sith holocron.
Yeah.
Maul can't combine the two. He gets Ezra to combine the two because when you get that, you get basically like you can see the future. You can see absolute fate. So from that, Maul can know where Kenobi is, and from that, Ezra can find the answer to defeating the Sith, to defeating Darth Vader.
Quick thing on that. I fucking hate that. That's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Fucking
But-
dumb.
We'll
But
see
what-
the future.
All it does is point them both to Tatooine,
Yes.
because the answer to both of their questions is Luke.
So that's fun. I'm not a big fan of that at all. And then does he go straight there in season 3 and then die?
There's in the story, yes, but Clone Wars and Rebels aren't in chronological order. So in season 4, he goes there.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's
That's funny.
Yeah.
it's honestly, and I don't even mind the ending of I don't mind ending Kenobi and Maul ending together. Whatever,
I think it's
fine.
great.
Like it's a good tie-in.
Yeah.
Yep.
But it's just the way it's handled, and it's
Yeah.
such a weak fight.
Oh, so
okay,
Emily doesn't like the
no,
fight.
no,
Because we
Emily.
love the fight.
Emily.
Really?
Yes. There's
I don't like that it's on Tatooine. I don't need it.
So you want like a big epic battle and stuff, and I think
Not even that.
okay, not that.
Not even that. Like, I don't mind the quick death.
Yep.
That's fine. That's whatever. It's the fact that they sit down and talk.
You don't like that?
No.
You don't think that's
Talking-
like poetic and
no.
beautiful?
I
Talking
think
over
that-
lightsaber fights is like.
I think-
shit.
I just think for a man that has that much rage, that much anger, that much planning,
You think he'd just go straight in for an angry, vengeful kill?
No, I don't think he would attack Kenobi in the middle of nowhere. Like, in the middle of an open desert.
Right.
Like, I just think he would be more planned. Like, I want more of a plan than that. I don't just want, he's going to be in the desert watching a kid. I'm just going to go up to him.
You think he would make sure, like, have contingencies to make sure no matter what,
Like,
Kenobi dies?
for the man who has planned everything, I wanted more of a plan.
That's interesting.
I
No,
want to
I don't.
see that
I
plan.
don't disagree with that. I feel like maybe he would have some contingencies. I'm like, I'm gonna make. Even if I do die, there's a bomb in me, and you're gonna
Yeah.
die as well.
Yeah,
you know,
'cause
something
I
like
s-
that.
Yeah.
Your perspective on it? Well, you don't have one, or
No, that's yeah.
okay,
I hadn't really considered that before. That no matter what, he would try and take Kenobi down, even if he did die. as
Yeah,
well.
that's what I think. Like, for a man so obsessive,
Yeah, he's been obsessed like for a long time.
he built spider legs.
yeah. What's your take, Mello?
My thoughts on it are coming from where the creators were with that whole bit. So in that episode, Ezra, I think he does get there first or he gets there later. He runs into Kenobi also, like he's just camping out in the desert. He's protecting Luke, and Ezra and Kenobi have this great bit where he's just like, yeah, no, the future is secure. Anyway, on your way, you shouldn't be here. Your story is somewhere else, literally.
Yeah.
Maul gets there. Maul in this entire arc, as we know, with, seemingly throwing Crimson Dawn to the wayside because he's hellbent. He is obsessed. He just wants to find Kenobi, and he's not thinking straight. Because if he was thinking straight, he would maybe plan some stuff. He is, again, by this point, at the end of his life, entirely driven by anger and sadness, really, and revenge. He just wants to get there, kill Kenobi, and the whole fight, they're toying with each other. Maul's just like, why the fuck are you here? What is going on? And the same Maul that, was able to, in the Siege of Mandalore, figure out what Sidious was doing, has figured out that Obi-Wan is protecting the Chosen One.
Yeah.
The new Chosen One. The whole lineage is the Chosen One. We'll get to that debate later, but he's protecting Luke. And then he's like, right, well, I'm going to kill him. And that's enough for Kenobi. He's like, yep, cool. Nah, man.
You have to die.
You're done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess, why is he so obsessed with Kenobi at that point, though?
Still.
Well, I guess Kenobi is the one reason for his downfall.
But he wasn't like that in Siege of Mandalore.
What do you mean? He wanted Kenobi.
He wanted Kenobi, but he also did all the planning.
Yeah,
he
he
wasn't
did have his opportunity.
singularly
to kill Kenobi.
focused.
Yeah.
He was still being very smart and very well
I
thought
feel
out.
like it was because it was a tumultuous time when it came to power.
Yeah.
After Sidious and the Emperor and the Empire took rise, he's like, nah, I can't compete with this. But, it was back
Not
in
yet.
the Clone Wars days. You still had that opportunity for him to sneak in, stake his claim.
Yeah.
But nah.
I think, Emily, you bring up a really great point. He loses some of that really sinister, really intelligent, thoughtful planning
That's
that
what
we
I
have seen
kinda
from him
like.
before.
Yeah, especially with Mandalore. Like, even in Solo, when it's like, Maul's behind again, I'm like, yeah, of course he is. Like, good on you.
I think what could have been really cool that they didn't do in Rebels is if they had Kenobi be more a part of the story and be a more antagonistic foil to Maul and drive him to be that single-minded and drive him to lose all of the thoughtfulness and the careful planning and just go, fuck you, man. I'm sick of this.
Yeah.
It's been 40 years of your bullshit. I'm going to kill you.
That's fair. Another quick note. I think this is an important note when it comes to the character of Maul. All of his stuff in Clone Wars, right up until Sidious does rock up on Mandalore, he's trying to get his attention.
Yes.
He wants to curry favor. He's be like, Master, I've been here this whole time. You don't need this pretender.
See how far I crawled back to you.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
then Sidious is like, nah, man, you failed me. Fuck off. And I'm going to use you as a tool and kill your brother.
Yeah.
From that point on, terrified of Sidious. But he was also terrified of Vader.
Yeah.
And there's a reason Maul was having these visions, and you can see his response in that episode. He is terrified of Vader.
Yeah. One more thing I want to point out. So, season 2 of Rebels, it's on Malachor. You see Maul, and he escapes. Season 3 of Rebels is the Holocrons. Somewhere around there, we see him in the Solo movie as well, right?
Yeah.
Canonically.
Yeah.
In the alleged Star Wars canon.
No, sorry. Solo's like earlier.
Oh, sorry. I asked earlier.
Sorry, no, I forgot. Forget the
good.
timer. Because Rebels is like 4 years before A New
Okay.
Hope, and Solo's in that middle.
Well, then
10,
forget that.
you
I was
know?
trying to figure out
But-
where it would be. So it's before Rebels?
Yeah, so a bunch of shit. Again, a bunch of
That's
shit
fine.
happened between Solo and Rebels
What?
that allowed
Yeah.
him to go.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm guessing he stepped down as CEO of the
Do you think
company.
he had a resignation letter? Do
Yeah.
you think he held
Yeah,
like a
it
little
was the
board
head
meeting?
of someone's
That was it.
body.
And he was able to become still the owner of the business, but from afar and just
Yeah.
taking in the wealth, so that he could go on his holidays looking for
Looking
Obi-Wan
for
Kenobi.
sweet Sith artifacts and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, but Kira's been good for the business, profitable.
I really would love to see like quarterly reviews where he's like sitting in a boardroom with Kira and he's like loving the direction.
Yeah. Okay,
Profit
so
margins.
we've outlined the rough beats of Maul's story and where he ends on Tatooine in the arms of Kenobi, dying. Which, for the most part, I am a really big fan of. I think that's a great poetic death for him.
Oh, also, yeah, that bit though, when he does fail, and there's a moment you see in his face when he realizes he was wrong,
It was
he's
for nothing.
wasted his entire life. And then he talks to Kenobi about like Luke, avenging Maul, avenging the Jedi. Luke is that whole episode is basically Filoni saying that Luke's now the chosen one.
I'm not saying that I don't like that like ending because I do like that. I like that they come back together. I just
You want more?
Just wanted something more, yeah.
I think Mandalore just set my expectations so high with Maul. Like
Yeah.
the whole Mandalore siege that I was just like,
I like Rebels, but I don't think you can compare Clone Wars and Rebels. That's not fair to Rebels.
that's yeah.
I'm going to take a little bit of a detour for now because we've outlined all of Maul's story.
Yep.
And we're going to talk about a little bit what Lucas had in mind
Yep.
for the sequels.
Yeah.
And a big part of his pitches and his ideas was having Darth Maul be the new Darth Sidious and having Darth Talon be the new Darth Vader. And that was his story. I don't know if you're familiar with this at all, Emily.
I know bits.
No bits and pieces.
Yeah.
Okay. So Darth Talon, I think we've got on our little wall here. She's the Twi'lek Sith. And very cool character design. I think character-wise, he was writing her as like a seductive femme fatale.
To try and seduce the son of Han and Leia. Yeah.
Which is, sure.
Yeah. Also
Yeah.
brings into some questions like, we've never seen a Twi'lek with red skin before.
Yeah.
How'd that happen?
Well, I mean, tattoos, I guess. Does Maul
All
Maul
the
have...
red.
So he's red.
Red.
He is red.
And his
The
brother's yellow.
And his brother's
But
yellow.
The markings are tattoos.
Yeah.
The markings, so the
Yeah,
black markings
the
are the
colour
tattoos.
Isn't the
Yeah.
tattoo.
Okay. Well, maybe they could just make her red. I don't know.
She's
all-
born
it's
red,
all-
and they're like,
Maybe
"Oh,
she
I've
was
got a
born
bad
red.
feeling
It's all
about
tan.
this one."
You know what? Actually, that is a cool fantasy thing when like certain species or races and stuff like that are born a different color or with different eye colors and stuff like that. It's like, oh, that's like an omen. So
Yeah.
perhaps she was born that way. She's born with red skin, and she was an outcast.
Became
And
an
then
outcast,
Maul finds her, and she's like, oh, someone just like me, an outcast, a survivor. I've always liked the idea that Maul sees a lot of himself in Darth Talon.
Yep.
Whatever that
Yeah,
may look
yeah.
like one day. But anyway, so that was what that was what Lucas was
Yes.
pitching for the villains of the story.
Yeah.
And for, the character who'd go on to become Ben Solo to be tempted to the dark side
Yeah.
by these two characters and betray Luke, who is, in Lucas's pitch, a hermit as well.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting.
But for his reasons. He was also pitching a similar thing that we're doing, which is that, the underworld would become
A big
a
part
villain.
of the story.
And
yeah.
that's because Lucas it was Lucas's story, this Clone Wars one where Maul becomes a leader of this underworld. But he was kind of starting it there.
Yeah.
And would somehow have him, evading Sidious and evading Luke for 50 years.
Yes.
Underground, still having this criminal empire, and then making a resurgence in his time of the sequels.
Yes.
Mm.
So that is a big question. We're going to circle back to that one
Yeah.
in a sec. But I think important to point out, Lucas, I read a bunch of interviews over the weekend of different things Lucas has said over the years, constantly changing. And
Yeah.
even other writers and other directors were always like, look, man, Lucas always says he has a plan and then he changes it every year of like, what is happening? What is the story? Which
Yeah.
is like fair enough.
Yeah.
It's just, a lot of creative types usually keep that under wraps
Yeah,
because
no,
it does
he-
change a lot.
he-
Whereas Lucas is just like, I'll just talk out loud.
He
which
thinks
is-
out loud a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, it's fine. It's an approach. It's just important to keep in mind that he was changing his mind quite a bit.
Yeah.
And the chronology of these events might not be directly like synced up. But I did see a lot of Maul and Talon popping up.
I would actually. Talon reminds me a lot of Ventress. Like if they did have to swap it out in Clone Wars, I would have loved to seen a Ventress and Maul team up in the same way that Ventress has that same level of obsession and proving her master wrong.
Yeah.
Like she hates Dooku the same way Maul fears
Yeah.
Sidious. Like, and they would have been a powerful.
That's fair. He also took Darth Talon from Legends. Darth
Mm.
Talon was the apprentice of Darth Krayt,
Mm.
formerly Sharad Het, one of the... this is a whole thing from the Kenobi book. This is a really cool thing from Legends, actually.
Okay.
He was a Tusken Raider. So there was a Tusken Raider Jedi in the Legends during the time of Clone Wars,
Very
who then
cool.
just pissed off back to Tatooine during the Purge, and then his son, it was either a Sharad or Sharad with the son and the father. Anyway, he goes to fight Obi-Wan at some point, and Obi-Wan just disgraces him, and then he becomes an outcast of the Tusken people, eventually becomes a Sith Lord known as Darth Krayt, as in Krayt Dragon.
Oh,
and
that's
his
cool.
armor is made of Krayt Dragon bones.
I've seen the
That's
concept art.
awesome.
Yeah.
And Darth Talon was his apprentice.
Well, there you go.
That is very
he stole that.
cool.
Also, a quick thing. Now, this isn't great for an auditory medium, but if you haven't seen the concept art for Darth Maul, go look at concept art, because we've got it on the board here, and it's this girl from the ring,
Yeah, I've seen.
creepy fucking thing, so go find that. Yeah.
If you want to have an unpleasant day, go
Yeah.
do that.
Do it.
In our rewrite of Kenobi, which is one of our more recent episodes, you and I both pitched that we keep Darth Maul's death the same.
Yep.
So for this little journey, we're going to forget all of that, all of our previous, I'd say, pretty good ideas. They
Yeah.
were good pitches. And we're going to go all the way back to just after the Siege of Mandalore and the period post Siege of Mandalore all the way up into A New Hope. Can we see Maul staying alive for that entire period? Forgetting everything we know about Rebels and Solo and all of the actual canon stuff, everything we know about Sidious and Vader and the Inquisitors and, if the Inquisitors are actually going to be around,
Yep.
can we see Darth Maul making it to A New Hope? Does that make sense?
If he remains underground,
Yeah.
if it, because Sidious is now, it's like, I'm done. If we can reason that Sidious is like, I'm done with all this petty shit. I'm now the Emperor.
Yeah.
I've got bigger fish to fry, big old ambitions. And, when he starts to deem other things as not being a threat to him, like Maul and his little criminal operation.
Yeah.
Then yeah.
Because that's the way he sees Jabba.
Yeah.
He sees Jabba as inconsequential and small.
A means to an end.
A means to an end, and he can be used and stuff like that. And they have a cooperation with the criminal empire.
Yep.
But does he see a Sith that way? I think he would see Maul as a threat.
He's not a Sith.
Yeah.
I don't think he's threatened by Maul. I don't think he doesn't recognize his authority. He shits the kick out of him. He kicks the shit out of him.
Yeah.
In Clone Wars.
Throws him around like
and
a
now he's got
ragdoll.
Vader.
Mm.
Yeah.
I just feel like
I mean-
Jabba the Hutt is just a different, like, a Hutt crime lord empire family, great. A crime organization, the Crimson Dawn,
Yeah.
run by someone who has Sith powers and a lightsaber, I feel like could be a threat.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree, but I think it would also be interesting. I think Maul getting angry that he's not being recognized as a threat, and that would be his ultimate
Yeah.
flaw. He's like, okay,
So
what
now
do you
he's-
mean you're not sending Inquisitors after me?
So you could see like him building up the Crimson Dawn, making it bigger, taking on an
Yes.
apprentice to
Yeah.
try and
Well, I also
get
don't-
noticed.
I think the other thing about the Inquisitors is, when I was watching the other shows, they don't look as much of a threat,
Yeah.
and I think compared to Maul, who again can somewhat hold himself against Ahsoka when she's at not a prime, but she's very, very good, and
Yep.
Obi-Wan Kenobi, he just wouldn't. The Inquisitors aren't that much of a threat, so I feel like in my brain, Sidious should be threatened by him. But is it worth it?
I think that's
Is it
the
worth?
back
Is it
and
worth
forth.
getting Inquisitors killed by Maul?
Yeah. I see what happens as we're meant to believe that it is in the canon. That is, like, Maul gets reality checked with Mandalore. Once the siege of Mandalore is over, it's just like, right, if I want to make this work, if I want to stay out of the eye of Sidious, who's clearly got bigger stuff going on, I just have to go completely underground.
Yeah.
And I can still have my power and make my riches and whatever my motivation is now, but it has to be underground.
Yeah. Okay. As I could see it, I could see that definitely working, like you say, underground. If he's not being flashy, if he's not waving his lightsaber around, if he's
No,
not being
I
like
would-
this big warrior guy.
Once there's a purge happens, I would never use a lightsaber again.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and
Yeah.
especially I think again in that episode where Sidious tosses him around like he's nothing.
Ragdoll.
Especially since Maul is like terrifying in that fight, just nothing.
And then that takes us to A New Hope. And then we have the events of, I think it's like a 3-4 year period
Yeah.
from A New Hope up to Return of the Jedi.
Yep.
So that whole period there, Maul would be watching the proceedings, and he'd be very interested in the Empire Strikes Back fallout of like the Han being tossed around,
Yep.
and potentially Kira being involved in that as well. If she is a part of the Crimson Dawn, if she is working for him indirectly. And then obviously Return of the Jedi, the Empire falls, and then he's like, brilliant, my opportunity. So my question is, what would it look like for him to make it all the way through to that period, to the start of the end of Return of the Jedi?
The thing is, he'd have to stop seeking the thing that he has sought his entire life,
Just Kenobi.
Kenobi.
Yeah.
And that would never happen.
Okay.
He would never give up. If he's going underground, sure, he's going underground. But using this network that he has, he knows he's alive.
Outside Kenobi, he would need something to obsess about. So what could he possibly obsess about that would hold the same value of Kenobi? Even if he's like, look, chasing Kenobi is not going to end well for me. I've got to set a new goal.
Revenge against the Sith is like his another key ambition he has. Revenge against Sidious for taking his life and destroying it.
So he's
Killing his
slowly
mother.
like actually taking down the Sith, and the Rebels like, we're doing really well. It's actually just Maul.
That's the thing, though. He couldn't, because again, he'd reveal himself. So it kind of just has to become
That's how he goes mad.
Kenobi. So what, like, what's some other obsessions that he could find, in the underground state that could benefit him? Gambling. He could get really into.
He
Pod
just
racing?
develops a really big gambling problem.
Yeah.
I don't know. Were the characters so driven around Kenobi? Like,
So that's the thing. If he is using his resources and his spy network and everything to find Kenobi, how would he find Kenobi if Kenobi is just hiding out on Tatooine? And then we get A New Hope where they leave Tatooine. Obi-Wan leaves Tatooine for the first time in maybe, 15, 20 years? 10?
Oh, wait, where's A New Hope? Oh, 20. Yeah. Yep. Sorry.
Leaves first time in 20 years and goes on this really short adventure, his last ride, because he dies on the Death Star.
Yeah.
What possible opportunity would Darth Maul have to find him?
Well, if we think back to, and now go listen to that Kenobi episode. because this was my pitch. In that time, we know that Obi-Wan becomes this wizard, crazy old hermit who lives in the desert that the locals know about.
Yeah.
I pitched in that he would have to have at some point a run-in with local criminals or Tuskens or something, just enough to get him on the radar, maybe not of Jabba, but of someone. And if Maul's network is strong enough, eventually Kenobi would inadvertently reveal himself. Not to a larger empire that doesn't care about the Hutts. Again, as we've said, none of this shit happening out in Tatooine, but to someone in the right spheres like Maul, he would hear about it.
So, the Hutts control Tatooine.
Yeah.
I feel like, plausibly, there's enough to say that Maul wouldn't have any control or influence there.
But alliances, perhaps?
I definitely think an alliance.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You got one or two ways when it comes to those criminal organizations. Cooperate or be at adversity,
I guess what I'm looking for here is just like
adversaries.
a plausible way to get Maul from never having interacted with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Because in a way, it feels very poetic for his story to end there, to end with Kenobi.
Yep.
But I don't know. I feel like there is a space for him in the story beyond those three, the original trilogy.
I do have another idea.
Time travel.
Time travel. No. So in A New Hope, Obi-Wan gets involved in this whole conflict, yada, yada, yada. Maul hears about that at some point, that Kenobi was there, and then his motivation switches to, right, let's just defeat the apprentice of Kenobi. That'll be satisfying enough. And then Luke and Maul have a run-in at some point, and Luke wins.
Wait. Luke has a run-in with Maul?
Maul seeks out Luke, if he's alive by this point, learns that Luke is Kenobi's apprentice, seeks out Luke. Luke has to win.
That's really interesting. Yeah. And then he dies at Luke's hands?
He dies at Luke's hands. Either way, I still don't see him making it. Maybe this can happen after Return of the Jedi. I don't see him making it to Force Awakens because of one of these factors.
Yeah. There's a lot standing in his way there.
It's all personal motivation. He doesn't care about his empire. It's a network that he can use to get stuff.
Yeah. He loves having power, but it is like power in the service of personal motivation. Yeah. Of like seeking out
dumbass
revenge.
Motivations.
Yeah.
My question also is, how powerful is Darth Maul on his own? Not with his network, like as a fighter on his own.
Strong.
Yeah.
But he'll get old at some point.
Yeah, because he isn't training. If he's just being a boss, a little CEO, he's not training at those stars. No,
You spend too much time in the office.
And I believe that.
Yeah.
But like, how powerful, especially next to Kenobi and Luke and stuff.
Yeah. So Luke, before Empire Strikes Back, wouldn't be strong enough to face Maul.
No.
But after that point, Return of the Jedi, Luke.
So, definitely established that there's some really strong story roadblocks stopping Maul from getting to anything past Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
However, forget about all of that.
Okay. Forget about the reasons.
Go on this journey with me because I've been thinking a lot about our pitch for The Force Awakens as it stands in episode 30? Episode 30 of the show?
Sure.
Anyway.
You gonna change it all?
Here's the question. Would Darth Maul and Darth Talon fit within our current ideas of the sequels?
Nah.
As the wielders of red lightsabers, because we don't have any of those.
Are we back on this?
Yeah.
I will walk off this show.
We don't have any of those. We don't have a red lightsaber wielder. We have only Captain Phasma as our key antagonist of the story.
Well, you hear about this debate that Bryce and Sandra and I had? Did we have it on camera?
I think so at some point, yeah.
Yeah. That, there's certain non-negotiable things that Star Wars movies need, and red lightsabers was one of them.
Red lightsaber versus blue lightsaber is one of them.
And I was like,
honestly,
not when it doesn't make sense.
But it always makes sense.
Because
that's what Star Wars is.
I mean, I think Phasma is cool enough to ignore red lightsabers. Like, I think if you have Phasma...
Yeah. Because we're all about the legacy. We're talking about the legacy of the Empire, the legacy of the Sith. That's what our trilogy is about. And we can also have the legacy of Maul, because I've also got a pitch for us a bit later, unless we want to hear it now.
At the end of the day, it's good versus evil. It doesn't matter how evil represents itself.
Yep.
Often it does with red lightsabers.
This is true. But just imagine you're going to the movie theater. You look at the poster.
The
only villain you can see on there is Captain Phasma in her chrome helmet.
Wow, doesn't she look cool?
Look.
Do you see what I mean? There's no Sith Lord on the poster.
Yep.
Not even on the...
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, look, I have to kind of side with, but when you think Star Wars, you do think lightsaber battles. You think those
and Sith
classic...
Lord.
So the lofty ambition of opening a closed book that is Star Wars,
Yeah.
Chapter ends at episode 6.
Yep.
the only way you can continue that is with compromise. You know, you have to compromise certain things, and you can't risk what was previously established. So what was previously established was all the Sith are defeated. Hooray! You know, that's good. There will be other adversaries though, and you know that's what we're running with.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even removing Sith from the equation, just because Sith are gone doesn't mean lightsabers are. Doesn't mean like weapons are. Like you don't.
Some aren't. Maybe the red ones are gone. We saw them fall down a shaft
A shaft. They're gone.
and blow up after the shaft led to the thing that blows up.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, even if it's not a red lightsaber,
You can have.
there's some lightsaber battles. I think that would satisfy enough.
There is. We've got one.
I think it would satisfy enough. But I also, like, even with red lightsabers, like, looking at the photo, like, any Darth Vader, it's more about Darth Vader. It's not he has a red lightsaber, it's Darth Vader entering. So as long as Phasma has been established as that overwhelming thought, it's her silhouette, not necessarily the weapon she's holding.
What if she wields like a sword, right? What if
What,
she
like
just wields
Beskar?
like a Beskar sword?
Beskar sword is pretty sick.
Yeah.
And she paints it red.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
can have a red handle.
So we've been talking a lot about
Red
the crime
armor.
underworld and stuff. We love introducing the crime underworld as a key antagonistic force in the story.
Yep.
And we've been pitching this idea of like a Gendai who's this really ancient, very mysterious, warmongering underworld leader.
Yep.
Swap him out for Darth Maul and Darth Talon.
Yep.
That feels like it works.
It's the only thing there is that they're Sith, though. That's what doesn't work for me.
How so?
Because they shouldn't be allowed to get to that point.
Well, they can.
Do you think?
Just imagine that they can't.
Do you think that Darth Maul is so recognized throughout the galaxy that he could just be like, guys, I'm literally not a Sith. I don't know what you're talking about. Do you think, like,
Yep.
how well is he known by just, like, the crime underworld as a Sith that he could get away
Yeah,
with just removing that part of himself?
Bryce, I guess my problem is that, yeah, he would rear his head before this point in time. We're talking 20 years after Return of the Jedi.
Yes.
Yeah. We would love to make the stars align for all of these events, but that's too many coincidences for me. He would once the Emperor is dead, it's like there's your opportunity, there's your moment,
And then he
to
would
He's
jump
too
out,
seize
yeah.
power.
old
Yeah.
Yeah.
to. It would betray who
so-
he is to be
so-
human.
So I can level with you and say that he is a key villain of the fantastic show idea that we have that'll never get made
Yeah.
and never be written, just ideas on a page, like Lucas himself.
Yeah. He's got some of those.
Yeah. Can I talk some ideas?
Yeah,
now?
yeah, hit me,
cool. Okay, because so let's even say that he gets to that point, because that's even later than I thought he could ever get to. But let's say for instance that he does. This Gendai character, who I do really like, because I like the idea that our key villain is, you know, like Phasma's still doing shit in episode 8, but we're gonna take a moment to like step aside from Phasma, talk about this other key villain, because we're talking about the crime world. Episode 8's all about this crime world stuff. His influence would be felt beyond his death, you know, as Crimson Dawn would be continued by his apprentice. This Gendai character, ancient or not, a Gendai is a really cool creature. Go look up Dirge.
Oh, are you saying Gendai with a red lightsaber? Or
Not yet.
okay.
Not yet.
Sure, okay.
No,
how,
no, I
how
was
would
just-
I say that? No, okay.
You said I've never thought of the Gendai continuing Maul's Crimson Dawn.
Right.
That's never been
Sorry,
a thing in my
This
head.
is my new thing. Okay, so the Gendai character would be Maul's apprentice.
Okay, cool.
Continue Crimson Dawn. The Gendai, despite having no dark side abilities, though, would operate in a similar way to Maul from the shadows. Thus, they'd kind of embody
Yeah.
some of the philosophies of the Sith.
For sure.
That's that legacy, you know, things get continued. And then I've always said the Gendai I pitched a while back would be kind of like a weapons dealer.
Yeah.
This is this character who would seek out the Death Star tech and try to, you know, steal it essentially after the destruction of the second Death Star. When we're in this, you know, nuclear arms race state, he'd get a hold of it. So come episode 8 in our story, this is who Phasma's communicating with. This is who the New Republic is communicating with. And so for Leia and our heroes, they're thinking, right, there's this nuclear war. How do we stop a nuclear war? Let's take it out at the source and then deal with these factions who want it. We take out the weapons manufacturer, things get easier. So, whilst the Empire, after its destruction, would spread to the far reaches of the galaxy, and certain high-ranking Imperials and remnants would integrate and invade former criminal planets, the Gendai's operation would, again, just stay underground, out of the way, unknown, and they would inhabit Coruscant, or what's left of it, because we've pitched that it would get destroyed at the final battle at the death of the Empire.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it lost me right at the end there.
Yeah, there's a whole lot of waffle in there, but yeah,
So, okay, where's the Gendai and what is he doing? He's just in the center of Coruscant.
Coruscant,
Okay.
underground,
Yeah, no, I really like that.
chilling, but has inherited
Yes,
Basically, the Shadow
Crimson Dawn.
Collective.
I
Crimson
really
Dawn.
like what you've pitched there with the Gendai being in some way an apprentice of or the successor of
Yeah.
Maul. I like that.
And if you want, that can be done in a real symbolic sort of way where he just gets his lightsaber, then he's got one. Then someone has it.
There is a
I
lightsaber.
Yeah.
It
I
is
feel like there
translated.
is a place for Darth Talon in that
Probably is.
in that mix as well. So let's take that.
Make Darth Talon the leader of it then.
We go to the end of Maul's life.
Yep.
We have Crimson Dawn. It is very powerful, but very underground.
Yep.
Maul is leading it, but
Yep.
Maul is a very flawed person. He is obsessed with Kenobi, and everyone below him sees this obsession. It's going to rip the Crimson Dawn apart.
Yep.
It's going to be the cause of the downfall of this organization.
Yeah.
So the Gendai and Darth Talon organize a betrayal, a backstab.
Yep.
They
Who is
oust Maul.
Who is Darth Talon? Is Darth Talon? Did Maul really take on an apprentice though?
Why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he? He's
The
shown
rule
a
of two. I mean,
he's shown a long history of taking on apprentices.
Mm.
And I feel like he would take on a
Yep.
new one as well.
But are they Sith? Because as I noted, Maul grew to hate the Sith because of Sidious's betrayal.
He
all that
hates the
sort of
Sith, but
shit.
he loves power.
He does, and he loves the dark side.
There's nothing more powerful than the dark
and
side.
he loves a good red lightsaber, much like Bryce apparently. Loves
Yeah,
Bryce
yeah.
love to
is
see it.
Darth Maul.
Yeah, exactly.
That is
Confirmed.
I feel like he'd take on an apprentice and he'd train her in the ways of the Sith, but say like the Sith are flawed. We've got you and me one day are gonna kill Sidious and Vader.
Would it be like a dark side, like a new and revised dark side, or would it be like, here's my ideas of the core tenets of the Sith? I
Yeah,
still want to be a Sith.
Yeah, I could see him like revising it
Right.
for himself.
Do you think that Maul would honestly think he could take on Vader and Sidious, especially after being so?
I think he maybe fantasizes about it,
Hmm.
but really he wants Kenobi. That's the
Yeah,
thing he's
yeah.
practically thinking about.
yeah.
Whereas like, oh, I hate Sidious and Vader.
Once I kill Kenobi,
I will kill them one day.
Yeah,
But really all he's actually thinking about is Kenobi.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I've got in my head. And then so the Gendai is a part of their operation. They betray Maul. Maul goes crazy, heads right for Kenobi.
Yeah.
And then we get some of our pictures and whatever that story looks like, where it is the end of Maul's life and Kenobi kills him. But that leaves us with Crimson Dawn now run by people who are dedicated to running Crimson Dawn.
Yeah. So we got the Gendai, who's all about that operation, staying underground, being a weapons manufacturer essentially, and Darth Talon. Where does that leave her?
That's a great question.
Because does she then, is she happy to be like, cool, I'm top dog Sith, but there is this other guy
Yeah.
who's also there,
I mean, I think Darth Talon could also be like a really good kind of flashy excuse for like this criminal organization to kind of use her as like because obviously if we are looking at the Empire, they can't get too big. They have to stay underground.
Yeah.
If they just create Darth Talon as like a flashy excuse that wastes the Empire's time and kind of like whenever something bad happens that this criminal organization does, they just blame Darth Talon.
What?
Like it's the
Like a smoke
ultimate,
screen.
yeah, like an ultimate escape dog.
Once again, though, I don't think they can reveal themselves until after Sidious and Vader are dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's maybe not Darth Talon. Maybe Darth Maul takes on a different apprentice.
Mm.
And then that apprentice becomes the master. And then that master takes on Darth Talon. And that's that's how we see Darth Talon. Because that makes more sense age-wise.
Okay.
Over like the lineage of how we get to Force Awakens. 'Cause
That
like 20 years
person
later.
rears its head.
Yeah.
When
Immediately after the fall of the Empire.
and then Luke
Yes.
gets involved,
Yes.
and Luke stops it all
Um,
at that
Luke.
point in time.
yeah. This
Yeah.
is true. But
Yeah.
the Crimson Dawn organization, it makes sense for that to continue all the way up until Force Awakens. So if you have a Sith leading that, it doesn't necessarily need to be like stamped out immediately. We're still going to have criminal organizations at the start of Force Awakens.
Yeah.
So why not have a criminal organization that is run
Run
by
by
a
a Sith?
secretive Sith?
That's my whole problem.
I think
The criminal
can't be a Sith.
it can't be a Sith.
Can't. They're too flat. Like, just nothing about Siths in the past have ever gone subtle.
Yeah. The
Like,
only,
Are you sure about that?
no, you're saying
I mean-
we're gonna say the whole.
Okay, no, I still.
Because I've got a pretty good rebuttal.
Okay, so
Okay.
let's talk about what you're going to talk about. The Sith remained underground for 1,000 years until Sidious chose to be like, "Hi,
Yeah.
it's me." Even he remained underground for most of his life. Yeah, I don't think that legacy of the Sith works anymore. I don't think that can continue. It's just the chain was broken.
Mm.
If we talk about it in terms of let's think of it like a real family lineage, right? And Vader was the last child in the family, yet died with no offspring, no Sith offspring. Whatever this is growing from something else. And why would they care about remaining underground if they don't get it? They don't understand what it means to be a Sith.
I disagree. I think, honestly, I think that lends more into the story that we've had for a long time of like this idea of legacy, and that the dark side will always come back. So like similar to Phasma being like this representation of the First Order and what that means. It's like this perverted idea of what the Empire was, and like a fantasized idea of what the Empire is. I think similar to that, a perverted idea of what the Sith is, and like a confused, twisted over time idea. It's still like, oh, this is different and it's changed, but fundamentally, it's still very similar to what Darth Sidious represented as well.
Yeah,
I think that's interesting.
So let's humor the idea that a Sith has remained underground. A Sith and an apprentice.
Unthinkable.
More preferably just the one,
Yeah.
because there's too many characters. What's happening? How are they? Why? If at this time of our episode 7 or 8, why are they revealing themselves, or are they being revealed?
I think this comes into like, okay, what is happening galactically, and that is the Kyber arms race.
Right.
That is the Cold War period of the 20 years, and I feel like they'd be trying to manipulate and move these Kyber crystals, take control of as many as possible, build the tech, and stay hidden from the New Republic, and be trying to win that Shadow War. That would be my pitch. Is that
right?
Trying to make a move there.
Are these secret Sith still involved in like the underworld, like with the Gendai and stuff?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a criminal faction run by Sith.
Right.
That is my pitch.
I feel like I find it quite interesting, the Sith's relationship with criminals in general. Like, I know they view them as to a means to an end, but I feel like they kind of look down on them in a regard that the Sith, with their ideas of selfishness and power, and there can only be one. Like, the idea of sharing.
Having an organization.
Yeah, I find it really hard to.
Not their forte.
What was Maul's perspective on that?
On what?
On the Shadow Collective.
He was at the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But how did he look on his subordinates?
So you see that between him and Pre Vizsla, because they agree to form this thing as equals, both having plans to betray each other.
Yeah.
Pre Vizsla could have been a good Sith.
Yeah.
He had a lightsaber and all that shit.
I think, that's like a fundamental like Sith attitude. Just like, we'll be in a partnership and your fingers
Until
are
we're not.
crossed behind your back kind of thing. And it's
so
like you know that each of you are going to try and betray each other.
Yes, and so that culminates in an actual fight for the throne of Mandalore and the rights of the Darksaber and the right to rule Mandalore.
Yes, I've seen that. That's right. Yeah.
That Maul wins.
Yeah.
So, he always saw himself as the top, always putting Savage Opress in his place.
How long was he working with Pre Vizsla?
A few months when they put that whole thing together, and then he killed him.
Yeah, so that's a few months before he betrayed him.
Yeah.
And he's working with an apprentice for like
years.
Yeah.
That can work for him because he's his apprentice. Maul could not have been the apprentice to anyone ever again at any point in his life.
Yeah.
He saw himself as at the top. He was only doing Sidious's bidding because he wiped the floor with him.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Can you imagine Maul as a Sidious type figure, ancient and powerful, but physically weak, with an apprentice who plots against him? I think that's a cool mental image.
What's his motivation?
That's a great question.
Yeah. It's this if he can get over this Kenobi obsession, then yes. But I don't think he can.
No,
that's what kept him alive for 10 years on a scrap heap.
Yeah. It does feel like it defines his life and should define his death as well.
Yeah.
I would like to definitely see some more of the maniacal side, some more of the like evil planning, bidding and stuff, because we see the outcomes of it. We see Mandalore, we see that he survived all those years, but we don't actually see the like actual planning or anything like that proves to me that he's smart or genius or blah blah blah.
Here's something that I did think would be interesting. If Maul were to make it to The Force Awakens, be a big part of the trilogy as an antagonistic force, and be interested in kyber lasers, interested in Exegol, and, using Exegol as like a means for, eternal life, right?
Yep.
If he was being manipulated by Sidious from beyond the grave, not like directly, like there's no Force Ghost of Sidious because that's not a thing, but if he was being manipulated into, I'm going to do this thing because I want to be powerful, but ultimately it results in Sidious returning and him losing all of his power. I felt that could be a really ironic way for him to end his life, to get to being ancient, and he's like, I've figured it out, I finally conquered death, but no, he has continued to, until his final day, to serve Sidious's interest and be much weaker than Sidious, and then he dies. That could be really fucked up.
Yeah, I like the tragedy in that.
Yeah. A really, really dark tragedy.
Yeah, but I also hate the idea of Sidious coming back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that just hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I think Maul's life should just have the tragedy continued through it. he starts with a tragedy, he ends with a tragedy. I think there needs to be more stuff that, like, his descent to madness and obsession through Obi-Wan needs to be fueled through tragedy. Even if he forms not a connection, but like trust in his Padawan.
And
not
then
Padawan.
and then gets betrayed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like something like that.
And dying a pitiful death.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It's hard to flesh out a character whose one obsession has so much more going on.
He's like Gollum.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. That's a good comparison. Okay, so he takes on Darth Talon as his apprentice. Darth Talon and potentially the Gendai betray him. That gives us let's say she's 20 at that point. That gives us a 40 to 50-year-old Darth Talon by the time we get to Force Awakens.
Okay, now you got to level with me here. She can make it to Episode 8 if she's not Darth anything.
Yeah.
Because again, these Sith tenets would not work well with her having to share command with this other person, would not work well with her wanting to, when the Emperor is dead, poke her head up and be like, yo.
No,
I'm here.
if she had been taught by Maul, then yeah, she would be making these stupid decisions.
Well, maybe she's better than that. Maybe this is the thing. Maybe
She's learned from him.
Yeah, exactly. Like if Maul was consumed by all of this hatred and this old Sith ideology, if she's new dark side, red lightsaber, but new dark side, then maybe new principles, new ideas.
Which makes her so much more terrifying, I think.
Makes her way more interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way more interesting.
So she could potentially be interested in cooperation, working with the Gendai.
Yep.
And that could potentially be like why they are successful for so long and have so much power.
Could be an opportunity
Force
to
Awakens.
explore other motivations of the dark side as well.
Yeah.
Other ideas apart from just like rage and fear and greed and shit.
All right. Well, this has been very, very interesting, but I've kind of run out of topics.
No, I think that's it. We're in this tumultuous state of, we've raised lots of things.
Because
time to go think about it.
This is something I've been thinking about, and something that I'm thinking we might need is just a bit more of an antagonistic force, a bit more from the dark side stuff.
Yeah.
We are like just aesthetically missing a dark robe and a red lightsaber. And I
You
think
can put someone in the background in the dark robe.
Yeah, there's one kid.
and I think there is an
Johnny
interesting
Darkrobe.
There is not a Darth Vader place for that character. We don't need that in the story. We have Captain Phasma as our leading villain. But I think there is an interesting spot that is left that could be filled by someone with a red lightsaber in a way that we haven't thought of yet. So I've been just, tinkering around with those ideas and wanted to throw it out into the podcast this month. And next month, we've got 4 weeks-ish, Mello, to really sit down and write out a big, long list of things that we want to do in episode 8 and 9, and potentially even episode 7 if we want to go back and reintroduce some of these ideas. Because that'll be your next episode.
Yeah.
That'll be our March episode.
Yeah.
So,
I think this is a good lead into that to be like, right.
Yeah.
We're going to be addressing villains and stuff because we do need to flesh out Phasma more. That's something we've always said is like, there's something missing here.
There is something missing there. And I think someone like Darth Talon could be a good way to complement Phasma and introduce some more interesting dynamics between characters and with motivations and all that kind of stuff and what our end goals are. Because we need to know what the end goal is for episode 9 to really figure it out. So I think that'll be a good discussion next week.
Yep.
Emily, any final notes from you?
No, it's good. Yeah, more villains.
More villains.
More villains. More
Yeah,
brutality.
I think we need a bigger rogues gallery because they had a really good. Both trilogies have a great rogues gallery.
Well, the originals don't have a rogue gallery.
Yeah, they got the bounty hunters.
They
They line them up like a gallery.
yeah, they do fucking nothing. One of them does something for one film. Boba Fett's only cool in Empire.
Yeah, but I think you have Darth Vader and Moff Tarkin.
Yeah,
and then you've got Boba Fett and Darth Vader. No, but he's so cool. He's such an iconic villain.
He dies.
And then you've got Sidious and Darth Vader in the final movie. That's a great lineup of villains. And then I think prequels, I would argue, is even stronger.
No, it's
villains.
much better. But that's what I'm saying. Like the prequels has a rogues gallery. The originals does not.
I think it does.
By comparison to there's 2 Sith, 3 Sith, and a fucking maniac with 4 arms.
Yeah, fucking rules.
Yeah, I mean. Like, because you can't compare, I'm just going to get into this debate now. You can't compare Newt Gunray to Tarkin.
No, you cannot.
No.
I think Tarkin makes the original trilogy a gallery because it's an interesting lineup because you got Boba Fett, a bounty hunter, you got two Sith, and then an officer.
Yep.
Sounds like the start of a joke.
Yep. We'll walk into a bar.
Yeah.
You got
good.
Jabba. You got, now let's talk about the admirals, man. Can't discredit the admirals. Admiral Piet. Captain Nida,
Admiral Piet,
some
dirty.
other motherfucker, I don't know. Moff Jared is
Anyway.
a person that exists.
This is so super rant. Do you think they have serial killers in Star Wars?
Hey, that's a really interesting question.
I don't think they care that they're serial killers because it's Star Wars. It's lawless essentially.
That feels like it could be an interesting comic.
What?
Like a one-off comic of a Star Wars serial killer going
Yeah.
around the galaxy just offing people.
Yeah.
Anyways, this has been Fixing the Sequel Trilogy, and we're here every month talking about Star Wars and writing. If you want to see more, you can find us on Instagram, TikTok, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. While you're there, make sure you give us 5 stars, a follow, etc., etc. We'll be back next month with a new episode, but until then, may the Force be with you.